Don't get scammed. Why older people tend to get scammed the most. Hello, y'all. I'm Diana Brienne. You know, older people tend to be more trusting. They just assume that people are going to back up what they say, or they're going to back up their word. And often that's not the situation. I think most people are pretty honest. I really, really do. I think most people are honest and trustworthy. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people out there that are not honest and trustworthy. And because of that, I believe that unless we know someone really well, or we have absolute great references that are solid, I believe in being very mindful of who we trust. And so I think a lot of older people are more vulnerable because what happens is maybe they've lost a spouse and that other spouse had done all the, the business part or the things that needed to be done. Now they have to hire people to do it for them. And when they're hiring people to do it for them, they're trusting these people. And a lot of times where they get the person from, maybe from a newspaper, maybe from social media, and maybe they haven't thoroughly checked that person out. And maybe, some of those places can be perfectly fine. We can find great people that do great jobs in those, newspaper and advertisements. But often that's where the deceitful also hide, because they don't have to really be scrutinized like they do on some of the internet lists that absolutely check them out for you. So there's a lot of ways to be scammed out there. And I think a lot of older people are still going by the old time rules of believing in people, trusting in people, and believing that people are going to back up their work or what they say that they're going to do. And often older people get pressured into making a sudden decision. And often older people are more vulnerable to begin with. And so are younger people as well. Younger people don't have the experience behind them to discern who is telling the truth and who isn't telling the truth. And even someone who is really, really right on top of things can easily be fooled too. My rule of thumb is I don't make any major decisions until I have had time to digest what it is that other person has wanted me to agree to. So if I have someone come out to the house to repair something and it's going to be costly, I'm going to first of all get 5 estimates, always 5 estimates, knowing that everyone is going to probably charge more than what they're really worth or really what they're going to do. And then I negotiate, but also there often is a wide range of prices that you will get. Now, just because you get something that is a low ball price doesn't mean you're going to get the work done that is right. Sometimes we have to pay more to get what we want, and sometimes paying less will only get us scammed or ripped off in some way. Sometimes, though, we can pay less and get exactly what we want. Sometimes there are people out there asking way too much for what they want to do for us, or what they're selling, or what they're promoting, or whatever. And so when it comes to business, I don't give full trust to anyone unless I know them completely and can truly believe in them. And even then I have checks and balances in place. And so I think people in general can get scammed, not just older people, not just younger people, but other people in general, by being pressured. Whenever we feel pressured, that's kind of one of the signs I look for. Are they pressuring me to agree to something? And if I'm being pressured, most likely that is not going to be the right decision for me, because great decisions usually don't need pressure. And so that's one of the ways that I avoid being scammed. One of the other ways is I wait to make a decision. I don't just say, oh, okay, this looks really, really good, and I'll sign on the dotted line. I don't do that. I wait. I take my time. And in one situation, I had someone came to my house and they to do some work, and they made this offer, and it was rather a steep offer to do that little bit of work. And so I said, well, let me think on it. As I did the research, it turned out to be that it for me to do it, which I could, would be a fraction of the price and even compared to other people who would do it, it still was exorbitantly high in price. And number 3, they were talking about how they were going to take weeks to do it. And when I researched it, it really only took a couple days, or a day or two at the most. And so So, we have to wait and give time. And often we will discover a lot of information in time. We will discover what's accurate and what's not accurate. There are people out there that are honest, that are thorough, that are good, that are qualified, that are capable. And there are people that aren't. And so, unfortunately, we have to research everybody before we actually make a decision, in my opinion. We have to research and make sure that that honest person is truly honest. And then we find out they're honest. And yet we also have to do it because there's a lot of dishonesty out there. And so older people get scammed a lot, younger people get scammed a lot, but everybody can be scammed so easily. There's so many ways to be scammed. Pressuring someone into signing something, agreeing to something, not doing our research beforehand, not taking our time and waiting to make sure that it's the right thing, the right person. These are all important things to think about when it comes to money or agreeing to something or even selling something. I know a friend who is older, and someone came to her and said, let me buy your house. How much would you? And she threw out a lowball number, and they said, sure, I'll buy it for that. And the house was worth at least twice the amount. And so, even selling stuff, we have to be very mindful to make sure that we're not being taken advantage of. And so older people can get scammed so easily. The best thing for me to do is to take my time and to research it. Will I miss out on a really good deal? Possibly, but more than likely, I've probably avoided something that I did not want to become a part of. And, trusting a stranger that we don't know. As children, we were taught, don't trust a stranger. Well, I think that's good advice because there's a lot of strangers out there, so to speak, that are honest and that are good and that are true and that are wonderful. And yet there's a lot that aren't. And I knew somebody that oddly enough, they had 3 people, different people in a period of time, rear end them. And it was just a really odd set of circumstances and, nothing major. But the first time it was done in a parking lot and the other person said, oh, we're sorry, we'll make it good. When the person who got rear-ended called them, they said, well, it was both of our faults. It wasn't both of their faults. It was the other person's fault. Then the second time somebody rear-ended them in a car, just put a little nick on it. And they said, yes, I'll, make it right and everything. And it was a new car, so they kind of wanted that nick fixed, but that was it. They called the person up and they said, I don't want to talk to you. And they hung up. Then the other person, there was one other time something like that happened with that same person. And so they learned their lesson that when you're out in a situation, and I always tell everyone, have it backed up through, someone who can validate everything, and because, you can't necessarily trust the other person's going to do the right thing. You don't know them. You haven't interacted with them before. They may back it up, but they may not. And so I treat everybody the same across the board when it comes to things like that. I don't trust someone that I know with situations that are more technical or, when it comes to money or when it comes to things of any nature, unless I know them. And it doesn't mean that there aren't good people out there. There's a lot of good people out there. The other thing is I'm very careful not to get things out of the newspaper, off of flyers, even though that's a big way a lot of people make their money. And there's a lot of good people that do business through flyers and through the newspaper and through, unless it's a major organization type of thing. But if it's just kind of a mom and pop type thing, I'm very mindful of that because often those places have not been validated by references and other people. And even references can fool us. How do we know that those are legitimate references? And so all of these things are important to take a look at so that you don't get scammed, so that you don't get taken advantage of. Okay? Well, from my house to yours, may God bless you. I hope you like, share, subscribe, and I hope to talk to you soon again. Bye-bye.